bare bones super efficient, plus some special ed allocation, and more or less proportional in operational efficiency to the RSU as the 3 Arundel alone. That's the 6.8 to 7.5 total budget. Can you operate your own system within that? And then within the RSU, where there is no total budget, as the RSU budget gets allocated, the major differences are that the state contribution is going to be lower, 2.6, basically 2.7 million for the Arundel alone versus 2.8, and that's because of the way the EPS system allocates tuition students to Thornton Academy at state average, whereas going to Arundel, they're a higher tuition rate. It's purely a question of Arundel is evaluated, not Arundel, Thornton Academy is evaluated at state average cost. The RSU 21 is evaluated at their own actual submitted evaluated cost determined by the state. So that staying in, going alone, you disadvantage yourselves by getting a lower EPS rate. Staying in, you get a higher EPS payment from the state. The local requirement is going to be the same all the way across, because whatever the state mandated minimum mill rate applied to whatever the value is, doesn't make any difference what system you're in. That's the local minimum. The only difference then is going to be the local extra, both the current, what you're paying for operations before any capital improvement, and the local extra debt service, which would be the totals here is going to be the same for the Arundel alone, since you've got 100% of the debt service on just this building, and then would be the three options in the how the RSU would vote to allocate all 3 projects to Arundel. And this presents then a range of values in terms of the ultimate cost per 1,000 from a low of 1180 in the bare bones super efficient, no extra special ed Arundel alone, to a Arundel alone option C running from 1180 to 1356. Obviously, the cheapest of the staying in the RSU would be the 100-0 at a cost of 1188, and the others would be in between. So, to summarize, and this is where I would say this analysis has taken me in terms of what I think is important for the citizens of Arundel to think about, is what are the odds that you can hit certain budget targets given your view of the administrative efficiency, the potential of this system to operate, and what's your estimation of the likely vote on the capital improvement projects in the broader RSU. My sense of the topics for consideration in closing are the EPS system. Is it working now? Sorry. I didn't want to let you hear the conclusion. Go see. There is a systematic difference in EPS rates that is simply built into the structure of the way the state aid is allocated. That's conclusion number 1. 2, special education is an actuarial risk. It's simply a question of how much risk are you going to be willing to take in going it alone and not having the broader services of the RSU that you might have to seek at more expensive locations should those needs arise. 3, what's your ability to innovatively, at low cost, efficiently manage, be a superintendent, be a director of maintenance and facilities, be a director of transportation, be a facilities technology assistant in whatever ways would be required for this building. The 4th would be the concern, and this was expressed in the previous meeting, the budgetary risk to the ML Day School alone. If middle school and high school students' costs are locked in with contracts, then the only budgetary flexibility remains the elementary school. And so if there is, after all, we've got to cut a budget, then the pressure is to cut it on the elementary students in this school. And again, that's a risk that would be taken if go-it-alone choice is made. And then finally, the going it alone does reduce the long-term capital expenditure costs to just this building, as long as you could continue to tuition middle school and high school students to other places. So that, and that risk itself is divided into what's the rest of the district going to do. Is that cost, number one, are they going to approve the projects, the high school consolidated and this Margaret L. Day School? And number two, if they do, how are they going to divvy it up? 60-40, 90-10, or 100-0. So, to me, perhaps the best way to, and I'll turn it back over to Todd and the committee, but in some ways, the list of options might be the most useful thing to focus on, and then talk about those questions. So, again, I'd be happy to answer any questions, but I'd really like to turn it over to the committee and have them manage the rest of the meeting.